There's a common misconception in our industry that when a client objects to a fee that you've presented to them, that they're objecting to the dollar amount, when in fact, what they're actually saying is you haven't demonstrated why you're worth that fee, which is why it is so important that you do have an ability to articulate how your office's processes and procedures will provide them with a seamless client experience, as well as maximizing the return on their investment. If you are able to do this, then that fee conversation is going to become nearly non-existent. But for now, let's dive into the best scripts and dialogues you can use to overcome those objections.
As an investor myself, I completely appreciate that fees are important, and I'd absolutely love the opportunity to run through what that looks like with you. However, they really do vary depending on the client and the property. I'll have a quick look through your property and we can discuss what you're looking for from a property management perspective. Once I have this information, I'll be able to give you an exact breakdown of what fees would be involved. Does that all sound okay with you? Fees definitely vary between agencies, and look, we're certainly not the cheapest in the market, but we're absolutely not the most expensive either. What we do offer is a fair fee for a great service. Now, you mentioned that agency X is 7.7% and our fee is 8.8%. So for your property, that works out to be a difference of approximately $4.50 on a weekly basis. What I like to encourage my clients to do when comparing agencies is to not just take into consideration the weekly commission the property management team is offering, but more so what that return will look like over a full 12-month period. And this has to be inclusive of considering the vacancy periods and the weekly rent that that property management team will achieve for you. In saying that, if you did want to compare from a weekly dollar perspective, remember, we only have to secure you an amazing tenant 1 or 2 days earlier than X agency, or rent your property for an extra $5 per week before we're actually much more cost effective than the cheaper agency. So if you were to take fees out of the equation and ask yourself which property manager is going to get you the best outcome over that 12-month period, and also consider which agency do you believe is going to put in 100% effort each week to maintain one of your most expensive assets. That's the property management team that you want to work with. Okay, let's look at this from a cost breakdown perspective. You mentioned that X agencies offered you a 3-month free period. So for your property, that's going to work out to be approximately $40 a week, so you'll save just shy of $500. Whilst we don't actually offer a management free period to engage new clients, and this is mainly because we're unable to provide the highest level of service that your property deserves whilst working for free. What we can ensure you is that the processes we have in place as we're marketing your property, the competition we create amongst tenants, and the intense vetting throughout the application process that we do when securing your tenant will well and truly outweigh the initial $500 that you will be saving. From a dollar perspective, we only have to secure you a high quality tenant that moves in 1 week earlier than your free service agency, and we'll actually have saved you the exact same amount. Think about your job, for example, or any employee in a business. If you were asked to go to work and not get paid for the hours, energy, and effort you put in, would you give 100% and be the very best version of yourself? Or would you turn up, do the basics, and take the outcome that comes easiest and comes first? Because we know in property management that this can result in costing a landlord a substantial amount of money. I just don't feel that anyone who works for free will be able to offer you the level of care and professionalism your property deserves. When advertising your property online via realestate.com.au, there are 4 different types of advertising options to choose from. They offer a premiere, a highlight listing, a feature, and then a standard listing. For our clients, we've negotiated a reduced rate with realestate.com.au for either a highlight or a premiere listing to ensure that your property is at the forefront of the rental market's mind. If you've looked on realestate.com.au or Domain recently, or even in the past, you would have noticed the size difference in ads, as well as the standout features that aim to entice more potential tenants to click on your property. The reason we recommend our clients choose either a highlight or premiere listing is because they have the best reach and look the most visually appealing to potential tenants. Another big benefit of these two options is that your property is going to remain in a prominent position on realestate.com.au at the very top of the page for that 30-day period. The other main reason why we encourage our clients to choose one of these options is that they're more user-friendly for tenants, which means they have an ability to click through to the photos on the main page of realestate.com.au without actually clicking into the listing. As we know, people are very limited with their time, so the aim of these features is to make looking for a rental property online quick and easy. A seamless user experience is absolutely key for tenants when searching for a property to rent online, and that's why we opt to go with either of these listings when marketing our properties. The other key feature and bonus with a Premier listing is that on the 15th day, the advertisement will automatically cycle back to the very first page on realestate.com.au. And this is going to ensure that there's as many eyeballs on your property as possible. Now, you know yourself, when you look on Google, you pop something into the search bar, and there's not very many of us who actually scroll down to the bottom and click onto page 2. And that's what you're going to find with realestate.com.au, is that your potential tenants are going to do the exact same thing. They won't scroll past page 1 if they don't have to. This is exactly why we recommend investing in a Premier or Highlight listing. In the scheme of things, it's a small cost and only a one-off cost that ensures that we're getting as many eyeballs on your property in that 30-day period. What you will find when it comes to the lease renewal fee is that some agencies will charge 1 week's rent plus GST for the letting fee, so they will charge a similar cost for the lease renewal fee as well. However, our agencies made a decision to only charge X amount for that lease renewal fee. Now, the reason for this is because we actually want to encourage you to renew your tenant's lease if they are looking after the property and maintaining it well. We know from experience, the longer a tenant stays in a property, the less vacancy period the landlord has, and the better the return is on the investment. For that lease renewal fee, we'll actually start the process around 90 days prior to your actual lease ending. At that point, we will come to you with an updated comparable market analysis to give you an idea around what's going on in the rental market at that time, along with a recommendation on where we think the weekly rent should sit. Ultimately, the decision in terms of what we renew your lease at is of course your decision, and we absolutely will wait for your final instructions before we do go to the tenants with those final lease documents. Ideally, the tenants have those lease documents back to us ASAP. However, they do legally have up till the day their lease ends to return those to us. During that time, we'll continuously follow your tenants up, as we know and appreciate that as soon as the lease is signed, that's more security and peace of mind that you as the landlord will have. In my opinion, the end of financial year statement fee is the best money you will ever spend, if you're anything like me anyway. And here's why I love end of financial year statements. The statement is compiled for you or with your incoming and outgoing expenses. This is presented to you as a one-page PDF that you can give to your accountant at the end of financial year. As per your management agreement with us, we'll pay all of your bills on your behalf, and all we need you to do is redirect them to our office. The bills come in and we take them out of your rent, and then we'll send you a copy for your records. You'll then be able to see all the summarized costs in your end of financial year statement that we will provide to you. You can of course choose to do this yourself in terms of paying your own bills, but you will just need to make sure that you are keeping track of everything and keeping records of your bills and receipts in order to give them to your accountant at the end of financial year. What I've found in the past is that some of my clients have actually ended up missing bills, which means they haven't been able to claim them as an offset, and that ends up costing them more in tax than what the fee would have been for us to do all of the hard work on your behalf. I'll be completely honest with you here. A very small percentage of your tenants do come from a signboard. However, what we do know is that the tenant that does inquire from seeing your property on a signboard is generally someone who knows someone living in that street or that area and who wants to be there for a specific reason. It could be close to school, close to daycare, or close to mum and dad's. So this means that they've got an emotional investment in your property, which is great, and exactly what we look for to create competition when we market your property. The beauty with this type of tenant is they're not scrolling through realestate.com.au looking at hundreds of properties and applying for multiple properties. They've driven past your property daily or weekly, and they've specifically gone to the effort to inquire just from seeing that signboard out the front. As you know, this type of tenant who's already emotionally invested in securing your property isn't the type of tenant that you're just going to find by advertising on realestate.com.au. The letting fee covers a number of tasks that myself and our property management team are going to complete as part of our 5-star service. When we commence the management of your property, the big ticket item that the letting fee covers is the entry condition report that our agency compiles for you. This is an extremely critical, lengthy, and important part of the process to ensure that when your tenant moves out of the property, they're handing it back in the condition in which they moved in. If this part of the letting process isn't done well or to our 5-star standard, and the property management team you engage have rushed through it, it can end up resulting or costing you as the landlord a large sum of money at the end of the tenancy, which is exactly what we want to avoid. The letting fee also covers the time that our property management team will spend on processing and vetting the applications for potential tenants applying for your property. If the correct due diligence isn't done here, this can result in the wrong tenant being put in your property, which will end badly for everyone involved. I'm sure you've heard those horror stories on A Current Affair about those tenants who have completely destroyed or damaged someone's home, or maybe you've even had a friend or family member fall victim to this. This is exactly why we charge a letting fee. We want to ensure that we're able to spend the appropriate amount of time in this initial part of the process to keep your property well maintained and cared for with the right tenants in place. The letting fee also covers all the background checks that are needed to be done, the legal documents that are drawn up and signed off by all parties, and all those nitty-gritty tasks to ensure that your investment experience is seamless. Let me explain that to you in a little bit more detail. So included in your management fee is 2 routine inspections per year. I recommend that my clients attend one of these routine inspections every 12 months just to get their own eyes across their property and make sure that they're happy with how it's being maintained. If you would like additional routine inspections on top of the 2 we've included, we charge X amount per routine inspection. Now, what we've found is that 2 per year is well and truly enough to ensure that the property is being well cared for and that maintenance is being reported in a timely manner. However, we do have some clients that would prefer their property to be inspected 3 or 4 times in a 12-month period, which is why we've included this as an optional fee. I have some clients that physically inspect their property 4 times a year, and then I have others that are happy to have the standard 2 routine inspections per year and who have personally never seen their investment property at all. So it's completely up to you how many you have conducted on your property, and it's definitely an optional extra. Absolutely, we'd love to help you with that. Our fees do vary depending on the property and the client. So unfortunately, I won't personally be able to provide you with a breakdown of those fees over the phone right now, which I know is probably a little bit frustrating for you. But what I will do is get ex-BDM, who is your area expert, to touch base with you by close of business today. She will be able to give you an exact summary of what fees are involved for our agency to engage our services. What I can do for you is grab the best email address for you and shoot through a little bit of information about our property management team and some extra documents that you're going to find really helpful from a landlord's perspective. Does that sound okay with you? That's fantastic that you've got some photos already. But what I recommend to my clients is you keep hold of those, and what we can do is arrange a professional photographer to come through your property, and they'll take 8 amazing photos and do a floor plan for us, which prospective tenants absolutely love to be able to view. It's a really small cost for a really big return. And what's great is the professional photography is normally reflective of the condition of your property for around the 4 to 5 year mark. So that investment you make initially today is going to be something that you'll reap the rewards for over the next 5 years, which is great. For tenants, when they're searching for a place to call home, all they see when scrolling through realestate.com.au is photos and the cost of the rent. So if your photos aren't of a high quality and they don't reflect value in that price that we're advertising at, what we know from research is the market doesn't even engage with your listing, which is why we say it's so important to make a really good first impression. The photos we present to the market are absolutely vital in making sure that we have multiple groups of tenants through your property from the very first open for inspection. And remember, the more interest we have in your property, the more competition we can create amongst prospective tenants. The more competition we have, the higher we can drive the price and the better the return we can get for you, which makes the investment in your photos well and truly worth your while.
You now have my best scripts and dialogues to be overcoming those objections. Make sure you follow the instructions below to download those scripts yourself. Practice, practice, practice. Before you know it, they're going to be rolling off your tongue and the managements are going to be flying in.